Well, we left off with the fireplace last time looking like this, and it essentially looked kind of tie-dye-y because I had to use a bunch of different batches to do the center, and as you can see, where one batch starts and another batch stops. So this time I was like, okay, I can mix one batch that's big enough for the center. I just can't apply it slowly. So I started applying it with my hands, but I was using rubber gloves. Now, here's the thing. I still didn't mix enough. This fireplace is like 15 feet, and the middle part, I think, is at least like 10 feet by like, I would say 4 or 3. No, I would say like 4 feet. So it was a lot. And then I was going back and trying to smooth it out with my bare hands, which wasn't the smartest idea, but you know, it was a good exfoliator. And I am using like a little spray bottle to make it just like a little bit damp, so it was easier to smooth out because it's still malleable for a little bit, but does dry kind of quickly. Then I also went back with a damp sponge just to really try to make everything super even. And after I was done with the middle piece, which is definitely the hardest one, I was able to just mix an individual bucket for each side piece of the fireplace. I really think this project would have been a lot easier if my fireplace just wasn't so large. It was really difficult to work with a product that dries so quickly when you're covering a large surface area, and I can't just, and it's vertical. Like if it was a table or a countertop or something and I could have poured it out all at once and then smoothed it out, I think it would have been a lot easier. But obviously that's not what we're doing here. Then I did the bottom piece. Now you can see on the bottom that where one, part meets another part. And it didn't look too bad, but I just didn't like that line down the center. So I'm doing the same thing, applying my feather finish just with my hands so that I could get it all on while the cement was still, super malleable and not dry and flaky. I made sure to go from one edge to another edge, and then I did both sides of the fireplace. I was actually able to just mix one whole bucket to get all of this done. And I'm trying to keep it pretty smooth because I didn't want it to be super rough. I just wanted it to have the depth of concrete, if you get what I'm saying. I don't know how to describe what I'm saying. So like I mentioned before, my thought process was spray bottle and go over it with my bare hands to use the heat of my hands to kind of make the cement a little bit more malleable, as if I'm working with clay. I mean, I don't know. I think the spray bottle is honestly what ended up really making this project rough and why it came out looking like way more tie-dye the second time I went over it. It was looking so bad, and you'll see it in a second, that I was like, okay, I bought this concrete pigment because I initially did want to do the fireplace black and like a black concrete, and this is something that you normally add to the concrete. Well, I was having such issues with getting consistent concrete that I was worried to add another element to it. So I was like, you know what, let's just mix this pigment in water. That's definitely not what you're supposed to do, but I did it anyway. And let's just roll it on and just see what happens, because at this point, look at that. It is looking like a tie-dye mess. When I did it first, I was like, okay, I can see it. We're getting somewhere. And then as I kept rolling, I was getting very nervous because I was like, does this just look like I painted the fireplace black? It wasn't drying any lighter. It looked like very just extremely dark, and I didn't want it to look like I had just painted the fireplace, because I still wanted some depth of the concrete, but not all of the depth that it's giving right now. So this is essentially when I started to be like, oh goodness, you can see where I rolled it on. It's not looking good. It's too dark. I just absolutely just freaking out. Freaking out so much so that I started to sand parts of it that I thought were too dark. And then it was looking really crazy. I was going back and wiping it, and also the pigment was just super messy. I do not recommend doing it this way. I was just in a panic, and I even pulled out my hand sander because I was like, I'm gonna have to sand this whole thing down. And then I was like, no, you are gonna trust your own process. You're not gonna let people on the internet make you feel like you're crazy for doing what you want to do. Because I think a lot of that was going through my head also while I was doing this. And I was just like, no. We're going to just see the process through, because at this point, we kind of have to, right? Like, the black pigment is already on there, so it's gonna have to go on the top too. And after I stepped back for a while, I was like, okay, we can do this. So I got up to the top, and I decided that at the top, I just wanted to do thinner coats so I could get a little bit more of that dimension, and so I wouldn't have the roller marks. And I was going on with a brush in kind of like an X motion, sort of how you would apply like a Venetian plaster or like a lime wash to get sort of the same effect, and it was definitely working. Now, hindsight is 2020, and if I could start over on this project, I would do things so much differently. I probably would have covered the center with some sort of drywall or something, maybe even like a plywood, and I probably would have just done a Venetian plaster paint or like a lime wash paint. It would have been a lot easier, a lot less stressful, and probably would have taken me not much time at all, whereas this felt like it took me my entire life. Yeah, but I am happy with how it came out, and I guess we're just gonna see how the pigment holds up. You guys are only gonna see me apply one coat, just because it does take a long time, and I don't think you guys want, 10 minutes of me doing the same thing over and over again. But I did end up going on with another coat, and then as it was drying and I was seeing spots that maybe needed a little bit more, I would put a little bit more. I definitely recommend doing it in the thinner coats. That worked a lot better for me. Also, the maneuvering of two ladders is just a mess. And no, I still have not filled the holes from where we took down the beams. Then I was like, okay, you know what? Let's get some stuff in here. Let's make it feel like a house. We had like nothing in the living room for so long, so I pulled my rug and my chairs in, and I got this beautiful mirror from Lowe's, you guys, so that we could have light to kind of mimic coming in on the other side, since there's not a window here. And I did mount it because this thing is heavy. It is so heavy. But here are the before and afters.